want me to do what?
I have 3 bosses. The nice one, the quiet one, and the impossible.
Do what it takes, Dan.
They want me to travel to every island in Micronesia to make a show about conservation without a crew. What do you mean?
You get no crew.
Oh, you mean just me? Okay, so my holy trinity of bosses, Trina, Fran, and Vanjie, say, Dan, we want you to go to Palau and get together a bunch of fishermen from Guam, the CNMI, and Palau to go fishing, and hopefully you can capture them exchanging ideas, and that'll lead all of us closer to conservation. Now, I don't know how I'm going to do this. It sounds kind of impossible, but what are you going to do? And lucky for me, really, that 2 of them live right here in Guam.
I'm Jess Kanata, and I'm a resident of Umatic, and I've been fishing since probably about 6 years old. That's about 48 years ago.
So I head down to Umatic to meet the Kanata brothers. Now, Umatic is known as the place where Magellan landed when the New World discovered Guam.
My father took me out fishing for the first time with just a bamboo pole and hook and line and bait, and we just went over the reef. In fact, it was right out here.
I meet Jesse's younger brother, Joe.
My dad taught me everything I could learn about fishing, and I fished frequently when I was young. Then I got married and got a job in my career, and so my fishing really kind of dwindled a little bit, but I would like to teach my kids the same thing my dad taught me.
So the brothers, Jesse and Joe, take me on a boat with Jesse's grandson and their nephew, Champ, Kanata. And I have no idea where they're taking me, but the day was beautiful and the boat ride was sweet. So we arrived at their family ranch, which has been in their family for generations. While we were there, I noticed these little red berries just rolling all over the place, falling from the trees, and I was a little curious about what they were.
Okay, this is banalo seeds, and the banalo seeds we've learned when we were little that you crush the seed and you put it in cloth and you go out to the reef flat and you kind of shrug it under the holes. It sort of stuns the fish for a bit, and again, we would use it and test it, and then we tested it on chickens, and they actually work.
So Jesse is very serious. Joe, on the other hand...
My dad told us, don't put it in your mouth.
And what does he do?
I tried it once, it didn't taste good. It's not sweet.
A neurotoxin. As we're leaving, Champ shows me what he's been up to. He's been raising seaweed. The Kanatas were cool, we spent the day at their ranch on Sunset Bay, and when we were done, we headed back. So on the boat ride back, Jesse decides to throw over his pole, and wouldn't you know it, after just a couple of minutes, a fish bit, and in short order, it was on the boat. Yeah, we're headed to Palau, and none of us really knows what to expect. While waiting to board, I checked my email. Trina was coordinating more Chamorros to meet in Palau. As I approached my gate, I thought about something I saw. 3 generations in a family. Little girl, her mother, and her grandmother. You know what? That little girl's ocean is different from her mother's ocean, is different from her grandmother's ocean. This just might be one of the most important trips I ever take. So when I get to Palau, I go to the dock, and I see this guy staring at the water. He's the other Chamorro guy who's come from the CNMI.
Oo, si Edmond Tulila, mas matungo niya si Mo. Manggagang gini Palau. Pagkang pagkang katiji tau tu Palau man peska, pagkang akan tamanu man peska dan mau nu siya gato ni man podo na man tansangin na lugar para no conservation. No man no tisinat tapat sa. La pwede offer din muta gini mo gi. Sinata sulit ulu data partikulo ki di lokata ansinya.
He has his net with him, his taladza, and he's the only one who has anything that looks traditional on the dock.
Yulu saya pan jauh tu mulaza. Ini unu na partikui familiar mo yung magosto put di talanger. Ay. Ano?
As we approach the dock, 3 or 4 very stern-looking officials approach the boat. And among them is the president of Palau. I'm feeling like we're in a little bit of trouble.
One with a white shirt, that's the paramount chief. There's something going on. I don't know what's.
But did they ask us what we were doing here?
So I basically told them that we have some visitors from Guam and Saipan that are here looking at conservation programs of the northern reefs, and so we got to meet the governor yesterday to get his permission and the chief to go out and look.
And then we were off. 2 huge engines screaming to the northern reef. But I'll be honest with you, between the motors and the rod and reels on the boat, I was wondering to myself really just how traditional this trip was going to be. I mean, I look over at Herman and he's kind of distant. And if I look at the Kanata brothers, they're not looking too thrilled either. I'm wondering if they're thinking what I'm thinking. What about traditional methods? Is this the Micronesia Challenge or is this the Jersey Shore? But after about an hour, we dropped anchor and the bait came out. And the sea unfurled her bounty. So much fish of every imaginable kind. Even Herman couldn't help himself. The sea united us. And then, amidst this abundance, the reality of conservation kicked in.
Say hello.
So check this out. The Napoleon wrasse is not on any endangered species list, but in Palau, it isn't fished.
It was fishermen requesting the National Congress to pass a law for a moratorium for that particular species and also the bumphead parrotfish. Until such time, they've actually had some surveys to look at the numbers and see if the population is coming back.
Do you think the Palauan fishermen are happy with the conservation efforts?
I think they really do.
Yeah, he said yes.
You think they're happy about it?
Yeah.
Why?
To keep them fishing for a long time, I think so. That's what we do with the conservation, keep you have a fish for a long time.
So Psyche went on to tell me about a traditional Palauan fishing method that involved, believe it or not, 10 to 20 men with coconut leaves that they used to chase the fish onto shallow ground.
So you don't fish that way anymore?
Not anymore.
Why?
Those guys try to attempt to do that again, but it's really hard because we need at least 10 men to do that kind of fishing.
So the tradition you lost,
Traditional fishing method.
Yeah.
but you don't fish that way anymore.
You don't, because you will require a lot of people and
then that kind of material we need.
We came upon what looked like an outhouse just drifting in the middle of the sea.
so this is one of many conservation areas in Palau. And they chose to use this as a security post to kind of limit the number of poachers coming in.
Has it been successful?
It's been, for the most part, it's been successful. It's really lower the number of violators. Yeah.
You know, Herman never really wandered far from his corner of that boat. But at the end of the day, we took a look at our catch and were quite surprised.
15 minutes.
Before the final stretch home, we stopped by to drop off some fishermen, and the guys exchanged some ideas.
In the Palauan context, what the other omit, the real fisherman, is not the fisherman that catches a lot of fish. It's a fisherman that understands the seasonal changes, the conservation ethics, and the whole process about fishing. That's what a real fisherman is.
Is there some type of process or a step to get to that real fisherman from when you're a little kid all the way?
And you usually get that from the older fishermen, and you learn the trade. You go out every day. In Guam, how do you define a true fisherman?
It's basically the same, but it's more in an economic sense now because of the times. And a lot of the fishermen there are the ones that actually they understand, they know about the seasons, they know about the environment. However, their purpose for doing it in most cases is for economic reasons.
So we headed back, and our Palauan brothers were kind of curious about all my camera hand holding and arms out with the camera.
Right at it. One. So this whole project is sort of like its own low impact production. Let's see, so if you see me holding my hand out, it's not for my Match.com personal online ads. It's my project. So my Micronesia challenge is to do this as low impact as possible.
On our way back to the hotel, we stopped by a clam farm, took a look around, and I asked Joe what he thought the difference was between fishing in Palau and fishing in Guam.
Yeah, in Palau, fishing is not the way we see fishing in Guam. Fishing in Palau is a way of life. Fishing in Guam is economics. Fishing in
And
Palau,
it's leisure. It's
right.
leisure compared to Palau. I mean, Palau, it's your job.
Palau, it's your job. It's your life. You go through traditional ways to acquire that title of fisherman, and it's plentiful. It's here, and they know it. They've been conserving fishing for years. So they, because of that, they have it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the hard question. So why is it important for Guam in terms of conservation to preserve what little bit of fishing we have?
And that's exactly
Right?
what.
I'm going to
little-
switch the camera because this is angled. It's a single production. So why?
Because it's really just that what little we have. If we start now, our kids' will be able.
When I left Palau, I wanted to give the guys, my guys, something they could hold on to, and the best thing I could think about was to give them a voice, to keep the oral tradition alive, keep the Chamorro spirit alive, so I gave them my equipment. And they're going to upload their stories to micronesiachallenge.org.
Really?
Yeah, really. Look, it's no secret that the Micronesian way of cooking is simple and seasonal. And as important as what we cook and how we cook it is where we cook. And a big way of life out here in these islands is something we call the outdoor kitchen. Here's mine. It's a converted carport that I've made half garden and half kitchen. Lots of rocks. I love rocks. Some plants. I even have a banana tree. The most important part about it is that I cook outside, and most natives like to cook outside because when you cook things like fish, it tends to stink something up. The surface needs to be scrubbable, the materials renewable, and most of all, it's a place where family gathers. And right now, perfect place for me to cook that fish that Joe caught the other day. All right, I'm hardly a chef. This is not anything new, but clean your fish, leave the bones in, butterfly it, leaving the spine in, and cut off all the fins and the other bits that probably won't be used. Heat up some oil and throw in your fish.
The reason why I cook fish on the bone and why Micronesians cook fish on the bone is because all the flavors in the bone, and reef fish tend to be fatty and have a very heavy bone, and so you want to keep it intact as much as possible. Number one for the meat, number two for the flavor. Herbs. This is a variation on something we call finadeni here in Guam, which is essentially an onion relish made with vinegar, salt, sometimes soy sauce is substituted, and sometimes various forms of vinegar and citrus are used. Tuba vinegar, which is from the coconut trees. But I've just sort of made a, you can do anything with what you've got kind of relish. But it's our finadeni, and we're going to put that on the fish right now.
It really bothered me that Herman was distant and seemingly detached in Palau, so I went to Saipan. I wanted to get to know Herman, to spend some time on his turf, and so I found myself on a cove in Saipan, fishing. Actually, fishing is incorrect. I was assisting. In the Chamorro fishing tradition, you don't actually get to cast a net until after you've spent years watching and following the taladzero, or the net fisherman. At first glance, the traditional fishing grounds for taladzero seem such an unlikely situation for any kind of catch. The tide is out and it's stark. Just beneath the water's surface is a setting that some might consider alpine. Everything is tiny. What can you possibly catch out here? You can't help but be struck by how patient the taladzero is as he stares into the surf. And then it hits you. This isn't really fishing, it's hunting. And you can't help yourself. You're drawn into this drama. And I actually assumed the crouch position. And like countless taladzeros before me over thousands of years, I am beginning to feel that by observing and being patient, I too might one day become a taladzero. Now, of course, we were out there for 4 hours. I would need many years of observing the taladzero to develop the squat muscles required for this type of fishing. And you know what? In that whole time we were out there on the cove, Herman didn't throw his net once. Maybe now he'd open up and tell me a little bit of what goes on in the mind of the native Chamorro fisherman. Herman finally opened up, and we ended up having the most amazing conversation that I've had, not only about fishing, but about life.
Isemnak, analiyo manusia maliyo, no? Lo, lagin po naligaw ni sitong soldat.
Kumekelek muna i somnak
Pada balinya, ana fanliyo alo tisino soldat,
parkandeda.
no? Maliyo al tisino soldat.
He discussed the role of the moon in the Talazero's life.
Saya pila na sinangangannya wa iput hafal okey haji mangagi moni po soldat sinangannya lokki ni dalam tinnya gaga ko malamtin po totso ko malamtin po fanyada pa po ay dugi tapos pro diskonsa.
The Chamorro language is a complex system of word assignment, and the word that we use for moon is pulan, P-U-L-A-N, and it is also the same word that we turn into a verb when we talk about caretaking or babysitting.
Ay ipilang gisa dumidikta afa na kasingguyan afa por kanno ay ni po kanno no dan mon ni po gaigi.
And Herman goes on to suggest what all of us here in Micronesia know, that when it comes to conservation, it isn't a template that is adopted from elsewhere that's the key to our conservation. It is, in fact, our tradition.
Tamani manyak pag umolum niya ba manyak 3 days later sumutsi gaga di matalay ka size taza matalay ka gigaga puri sumutsa dan sumutsu tinalay ka di kolon niya. Now that's visual cue that was instilled in us to see, so that there was no accidental catches. The statistics accidental Chamorro. Accidental catches was not intended. Therefore, by seeing that the fish changed color, we understood that it ate. Therefore, when it ate, it became a maleso. Now, a maleso, by culture, was not taken. You gotta step down, boy. And then the next stage, which was the donkey. Now, the donkey is a reproductive size. When it fed, it gave him the first chances of survival because it fed already. Now we stopped because it was given the chance of life. Now we gave it a chance to reproduce.
In the conversation, we articulate the tension really that exists today with conservation. On one hand, you have scientists armed with science and education. And then on the other, you have natives with thousands of years of tradition that is ingrained in them.
The difference between that is that he came from a written world. We came from an oral world and practical world.
And this oral tradition in Micronesia that Herman speaks of is a knowledge base that is expansive, that connects not only the fisherman to his fish in the sea, but those things to the earth and the world.
Mait. Humisya ni gamsun. An mait pudung masang. Mana oleh gamsun po nada po spawn. Ilan at sama lamay piano perfect for spawning.
Well, we didn't catch a single fish that day, even after going back for 3 more hours. But that wasn't the point. The point was tradition. The story continues at www.micronesiachallenge.org, where you can learn more about the people you just met, as well as the efforts of preserving the thousands of species of fish, plants, and wildlife in Micronesia. There are downloadable teaching modules for schools, as well as an online video storytelling academy by Dan Ho. And of course, we look forward to your support of the Micronesia Challenge. Thank you.